Shik here with another Transformers review, and today I'll be reviewing the Transformers Studio Series, Transformers the Movie Scrapper, debatably leader of the Constructicons. Hoo boy, Scrapper. He is the leader of the Constructicons, or, well, it's debatable whether or not his leader is Hook or Scrapper, but I personally like to think it's Scrapper because, well, he is probably my favorite of the Constructicons. I think he's the coolest, mostly because, I guess, kind of because of his alt mode, but also because of his robot mode, the head sculpt, and all that. If I remember right, the Combiner Wars Scrapper had less articulation. Obviously, they had less detail, if I remember correctly. They were very green. I mean, they had also, obviously, the purple plastic and stuff like that, but much less paint. I mean, much less detail than on this. Like, I absolutely love the colors. Nice Decepticon emblem. That head sculpt is just divine. I absolutely love that. The nice visor, a little bit of the sunglasses look. I mean, it just looks so cool. The head is on a ball joint. You can look up and down. Gets not really much wibbly wobbly, but you can get a tiny smidge. You do a full 360 right there. Arms can go out a lot, which is very nice. Probably more than the original one from Combiner Wars. Arms can do a full 360. He does have a little bit of a butterfly joint, which is very nice, very welcome. Not exactly a bicep rotation, but I guess technically it is because it is above the elbow joint. About 90-degree bend at the elbow, which I think is also the same position for the combined mode, or at least when it's like this, I think is for combined mode. That's my guess. Haven't gotten that far yet. There is no waist rotation. That is like the only major point of articulation that he is missing. But I can forgive that because he is a leg. And he needs, I guess, needs it for click, 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 like that. But you can pose him like that if you wanted to, if you ever have that desire. But it is nice and stiff, which is good for a combiner joint. Legs can go forward about that far. Looks like it gets in the way a little bit, but about as far as you probably need to go. Back that far. He does have a little bit of backpack kibble, but it's not too bad. At least it's not like, I don't know, staying straight up like that. Although that is something you could do if you ever so desired. And this is how he's supposed to be transformed, but you can have this kind of facing whichever way you want it to. You could even have it sideways if you so desired, but according to instructions, that's how it's supposed to be. Where was I? Oh yes, legs can go out that far. He can do the full splits. Nice thigh rotation, about 90 bend at the knee, and he does have ankle tiltage, although I will admit that does look a little bit weird on the side of his foot. He comes with a rifle. The others so far have come with just little hand blasters, but he does have a rifle that does have a hole right in the middle of it for some reason, but he does have that. But it's same. Well, this looks like it might not be black. It looks like it could be just a very dark gray, which I think, well, maybe the others are the same color. They're probably all the same color, but yeah, that's pretty nifty. He does come with the gun for Devastator as well, but it is done in separate pieces, just like the Combiner Wars Devastator. Just, you know, plug those together, and then you have the big gun for Devastator. And I wish they had done this sort of thing with the other combiners, like Menasor. They gave him a tiny little sword. And Superion has a significantly long enough gun, but it's just so meep, little tiny narrow little thing. But I think there is probably a way to store the Devastator gun in the long haul extra trailer bed that forms most of the combined mode parts. But you can also store this on his vehicle mode, but I personally just like to have the Constructicons with their own individual weapons. I guess it's this time again, so let's get him into his other mode. And here we have Scrapper in his bulldozer excavator mode. It turns out that I guess I had him mistransformed in robot mode and vehicle mode, and that's one downside of this thing right here, is that it's not quite symmetrical. It's definitely asymmetrical, but it can be a little hard to tell which way is the front. So yeah, so obviously that is this is how it's supposed to be for vehicle mode, at least, because you can see it tabs in right in there. But I do love the transformation. I love the way how the legs just kind of turn inside out. Essentially, they split open and fold around the upper thighs, which is kind of why the thighs are a little bit thin, but I still think it looks really cool. Obviously, like I said, him not having the waist swivel is like the only major complaint that I have, but even then it's a minor complaint. If he wasn't a combiner, then a part of a combiner, then yeah, I'd have an issue with it. But since he is a combiner, I tend to cut combiner teams a lot of slack. And I guess there we are. I guess I missed that step, but it looks like it's supposed to lock into place. That's probably honestly for combined mode, and then, you know, arms flip down, whatever, but that will be for the Devastator review. I'm sure that you can also do this for this mode, but it looks like it doesn't really stay that well in place to begin with. But if you want to take that off, you can then have him lift his bucket up a bit higher. Downside is, although for stability in combined mode, it makes perfect sense, but as to why the bucket can't pivot up here. But hey, it is what it is, and it's not the end of the world, and I still think Scrapper is pretty cool. Another thing, obviously on my desk, it's, oh wow, these are a little squeaky, but on my desk, given the shape of the tires, they don't spin the best because it's smooth, and for it to roll better, it needs well, better traction. Unless these are rubber, but they're not. They're solid plastic, but they're nice and pinned in. Just so many pins on figures as of late. They've definitely stepped up their game. Sure, they're smaller than they've been in days long past, like Transformers Cybertron, Energon, Armada, yada yada, and even the early 2007 but movies and then animated. But I think I would rather have some for scale, like scaling purposes, all that. I think this works a bit better than just having every single class figure be exactly the same, rather than not really caring for scale. I'm glad that they have really cared about scale, although people say that's just them cheaping out. Maybe it is to a point, maybe it is, but I would rather have figures at scale. And Combiner Wars, as cool as it was at the time, just had enough drawbacks. I was like, you know what, I just don't really want this guy anymore. So I was really excited when they after with how cool Menasor was, to see that they were doing a Devastator, and of course Superion, which I did do a review on him if you'd like to take a look at that. And yeah, oh, one more thing, storage. I will say one thing I am a little miffed about is that you can't really just store the little rifle anywhere. Like, there's no convenient 5mm ports. Like, they could have probably pretty easily done one somewhere up here, but they're like, you know what, we're gonna have it to where these weapons, Devastator's gun, can just attach on the side of the back of the vehicle mode, which, I mean, you can do it if you want. I mean, I think it looks a little wonky, but it is something you can do. And then the 5mm port is on the side of here, and then you have, well, you have him with guns on the side. So yeah, I would rather him match his brethren and just have the single gun like this instead of on the side of Devastator's big old gun. Oh! This is not shown in the instructions, but it looks like... "Ooh, be still my beating heart," or whatever the saying goes. But it looks like you can actually tab that in right there. So that's actually really cool. Although it is a little wonky, but it is something you can do. And even though it doesn't show it on the box, and I'm almost certain that it's not in the instructions. So that is pretty cool. And I'm glad that I found that. That is pretty nifty. Of course, this is what I get, jumping the gun and all that without reviewing the instructions and all that. I had the thing facing the wrong way, and then also on top of that, the gun can't go on the back. It is in the instructions and all that. But anyway, Scrapper is absolutely amazing. Think you should get him if you like the constructicons. And if you like this review and you like to see more, please click that like and subscribe button to see more. Till next time, have a good one, everyone. Attention.